All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Beehive Biker Podcast. As you can see, it's just me and any electronics I have here to help me today. Things have been all over the place, and we got Zach out of the office today, and guests that we were hoping for weren't able to make it this week. So we do have some awesome guests coming up, and keep your eyes peeled for announcements and your ears open for new guests and where they're coming from and everything like that. But as of today, it's just me, and we're going to figure this out whether we like it or not. So first things first, I wanted to take a moment to say thank you, essentially. I was looking at our podcast analytics the other day, and I didn't realize until I checked that we had officially, at least on the podcasting server, websites, whatever places we're just doing podcasting, all-time listens have crossed over 1,000 listens. Now, granted, we've got 19 episodes out, or 18 plus the intro episode, and then this episode number 19. And so, I mean, it doesn't take much once the episodes start adding up to get over 1,000. But to me and to Zach, that is a monumentous occasion. You know, it's the first 1,000 listens that we've gotten over, right? And hopefully they continue to rise. For those of you who are analytics nerds, hopefully this is cool to you. One that I don't understand completely is Spotify impressions. And from what it sounds like, it's just how often our icon or our podcast is suggested to people. And that one's over 3,000. So that's cool to see. And we have a weekly audience of about 40 to 50 listeners. So for those of you who are listening every single week, those 40 to 50 of you guys, thank you. You guys make every moment of this podcast worth it. If it weren't for you, if it was just, I mean, yes, it's fun to sit with Zach. It's fun to have people on the show. But what makes it more fun is sitting here knowing that what we're doing is bringing joy to other people. We have been friends for a long time, and we will continue to be friends for a long time, longer than this podcast will ever exist. If it tanks and everyone hates us for some reason, Zach and I are still going to be friends, and we're still going to ride. But being here for you guys is what makes it fun, and getting your guys' voices heard on the podcast is so much fun. I think one of my favorite episodes was calling people from the podcast that are listening, and getting to know them. So if you're a first-time listener, thank you for giving us a shot. And if you're a returning listener, thank you for your devotion. You guys make it worth it. So let's see. I wanted to share some things that I thought was kind of cool. So our audience is, of course, mainly from the United States, 94%. But then we have a 3% listener audience in the United Kingdom. We've heard some comments and some phone calls from friends in the United Kingdom that will be mentioned today. Canada, 2% of listeners. And then the several next ones are less than 1% of our listeners, which might just mean one or two people, you know? But it's still cool to see that we have listeners in Russia. If you're listening to the podcast from Russia, good on you. I mean, hopefully our English is enough to understand if you're learning English. Same goes with all these other countries. Mexico, Indonesia, Australia. I know we both speak English, but when I listen to people from Australia, some of them are hard to understand. So hopefully we're easy to understand for them. India, crazy to see that we have audience members from all around the world. So if that means you, thank you. Another set of analytics, we have 58% of our listeners are listening on Spotify. 35% on Apple Podcasts, 4.6% says from web browsers, and 1.4% from other. I'm going to guess those last two are kind of a mix of like our iHeartRadio or Pandora or Amazon Music, any of the others. I'm going to guess that they're just more specific about Spotify versus Apple Podcasts. But it's kind of interesting to see that as the podcast has grown, more listeners have come over Apple Podcasts. Like when we first started, it was 99% of listeners are on Spotify. So it's kind of interesting to see how the dynamics of the podcast listeners are. The final thing I wanted to cover was our top 10 ranked episodes. So at first, it starts off with the number one being our oldest, episode number 1, New Bikers and Bikes. Very popular episode. And then number 2 with Garrett Hunting from the Hive Crew. Super fun episode, and I hope we can have him back on someday. Episode 3, Kenzie Beer, my sister-in-law, coming on for motorcycle marketing. Episode 5, Weston Priestley with the from Saddleback Harley Davidson, and we're hoping to have him back on soon. We're getting things organized for that. Episode 4 with Gary Mabe. Episode 6 with Jonathan Barker talking about Harley Davidson versus Indian. Episode 0, just our intro episode. Episode 8, Dream Machines, the ones we wish we could have. I mean, we could do that one week after week, and I'm sure it would change every week. Episode 11 with Kelly Driscoll getting ready for Peach Days. Episode 15, Adventure Motorcycling, and the list goes on. You can see by just some of the ones that I've listed off, we've covered a wide variety of topics. So if you aren't seeing stuff that you want to hear about, let us know. We are more than happy to search out a guest that is a topic expert on whatever you want. You know, if you know me at all, I love learning new things. That's just part of who I am. I like learning about other types of motorcycles. I like meeting new people. So the more of that we can have, the better. So just keep your eye out for what we're making and let us know what you'd like to see. We'll jump quickly over to YouTube, and I'm sure I am not an analytics whiz when it comes to how to get people on, how to interact with people, get people listening, getting new listeners and viewers and whatnot. Because YouTube is not where people listen to us. Most of the people are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So whatever we can do, if you are a YouTube watcher, whatever we can do to make your experience better and make it worth sharing with others, let us know. I mean, on average, each of our episodes on YouTube is getting between maybe 30 and 60 views. Some are lower and a couple are a little higher, but we have 23 subscribers. And to each of you who are YouTube subscribers, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was just talking to one of our listeners and was telling me how he's, I'll just shout him out now, that Golden Vic 9 on Instagram. Check him out. He's starting to make some cool stuff himself. So he's always been a super good follower of ours ever since he started. And he's telling me how he wasn't really a podcast listener, but listening to our podcast, he felt like it was one that he could listen to and just enjoy and comment along as he went. And I think that's just so cool. And he's from the United Kingdom. I've never even been over there. I've never crossed the ocean to see other parts of the world. I've seen a lot of the US, seen some of Canada and some of Mexico, but it blows my mind that there are people around the world listening to what we have to say every week and who want to be part of this. So if you want to be part of this, keep your eyes open for opportunities. We try and find as many opportunities to get your guys' voices heard every single week, whether that's sharing comments from videos or calling out on, I don't know what you'd call it, like viewer appreciation episodes where we can talk to you live and see what we can do better, what words you want to share with the community. And that's what makes this whole thing so much more fun. So without further ado, thank you. And let's make this as much fun as we can. Today's episode, it might be a little shorter. We'll see how this goes. This is one I've been kind of wanting to do for a minute now, and we'll see if we can make it happen today. And then if it's fun and everyone likes it, it's something we can kind of get a group of people to join in on. And that is reviewing your motorcycle hot takes. I want this to be fun. I want this to, there's going to be some jabs back and forth from, I'm positive, from multiple sides of the community. And I've viewed a couple of these, and they're going to be fun. I'm pretty sure. I put it out on to a couple of people on Instagram. I put it out to Threads. I'm not super familiar with some of these platforms. These are first time platforms for me. Reddit. I'm really bad at Reddit, but it is getting quite the amount of traction. So I've read a couple of these beforehand, but we'll see how they go. This is all in good fun, so we'll just pick what's fun, and if yours doesn't get answered this time, then maybe next time, because I want to save some of these for the next time when we have a couple people that can all laugh around and make jokes back and forth and give their points of view on these topics. So I'm going to go over a couple on my tablet here from Instagram and just jump around, and then we'll start hitting Reddit. Okay. So we'll start off with a good one. No, I'm just kidding. They're all good. I asked Brian L. And also, if I pronounce your name wrong or your username, I am sorry. I am doing my best. Brian L. Scheel. Yeah, I'm going to go with Scheel. I asked him what his motorcycle hot take is, and he said that Harley Davidson is the best motorcycle ever made. And that is a hot take, because even though I ride a Harley Davidson, I know, and it depends on what you define as the best motorcycle ever made. Every company has good and bad motorcycles. That's just how it works. You're going to have some that win, and you're going to have some that fail tremendously. I'm trying to think of specifics. I would put Honda's Rune, Valkyrie Rune, under, how would you say it? Failing spectacularly. I don't know. I know they kind of made them as an art piece almost. They're beautiful. In my opinion, I think they're beautiful. Some people might think they're a little dated, and perhaps they are, but there's different things that each company does better than the others. If Harley Davidson was the best company on planet Earth, then why is it that my Harley Davidson is sitting in the lot right now leaking transmission fluid because of a design fail? Its bolts are hooked to the transmission cover bolts are hooked to the exhaust, and when it rides and it shakes and it creates a gap there, it's starting to leak. That's just an error in design. They probably put that on there like, look how clean we're making this bike look, until it's not clean because it's covered in transmission fluid. And there's things you can do to prevent it, and there's things you can do to fix it, short term and long term, but it's a design fail at the end of the day. I would say even my Honda Fury, I went and took it after I'd been riding, and maybe this is my mistake, but I was washing it, and because of the heat of the engine and the fake chrome that it had, it just separated the chrome right off the case, and it made it look like garbage because once it cooled down, it kind of remolded back to it, but there was little bubbles. There's things when it comes to fit and finish. Yeah, I feel like Harley Davidson does a lot to make their bikes look really nice. They do amazing paint. They do chrome and they offer now black chrome and smoked chrome, or all these different colors, and they look amazing. They look beautiful. They shine in the sun and all these things, and they're all metal, fairing or not fairings, fenders and whatnot, where other bikes are plastic fenders. And a lot of plastic parts, and it looks nice that it's metal on a Harley Davidson, but it all depends on what you're looking for. So we'll call that a tie. Everyone's got their ups and downs, and yeah, there's some bad apples, but there's some really good bikes between all the different companies. So even though I had that issue with my Honda Fury, I loved riding my Honda Fury. It was super fun to ride. It was low to the ground. It sounded amazing, and it was super reliable. I mean, never had any issues with that bike. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, we've mentioned that Golden Vic 9. And this one's not super hot, but I do like it because it's kind of fun. And by not super hot, not that it's not a fun, good opinion. It's just that I don't feel like it's super controversial because maybe not a lot of people think about it, but we'll see what you guys think. He says he has a golden 2010 Victory Jackpot, which in the UK is rare. There are only 4 of them. So, I mean, rare. I like that he doesn't have a bike that everyone has. That's one thing that's nice about having customized bikes. You know, you like the look of a bike, and then you see your bike on somebody else, and you're like, I don't like that somebody else has the same exact bike as me. I have that one relatively frequently. I see, because I think, let's see, 2012 is what mine is, and I think there was a 2013 and a 14 that were similar paint jobs, maybe slightly different between the color of the pinstriping and whatnot. And then I think it came back in 2016, 2017, because I've seen it on a Milwaukee 8 engine with the new fairing. So maybe you think it's rare, maybe you don't think it's rare, but it's nice to have that. So thank you, that Golden Vic 9. Next one, Ryan Hager. Yes, I think I'm saying that right. And he's going to put me on blast because he is one of the hosts of the 5 Dirty Bikers. And his hot take today is, I think that Harley Davidson will put out another banger of a bike this year, expanding on the bagger redesign and the popularity of the Lowrider ST. Just back and forth with him talking about that. He made a mention to the Road King special. Now, for those of you who are Harley Davidson fans, we, in the last year and a half, have gotten an upgraded version of the Road Glide and the Street Glide. So new fairings, new tanks, new bags, new larger engine, liquid cooled. And so a lot has gone into those 2 bikes. And they started with the CVO, and then it kind of trickled down to the regular models. And they simplified their roster, because they used to be that you had the entry line model, so the Road Glide or Street Glide standard. And then if you wanted to spend a couple $1,000s more, get better paint, get a larger displacement engine, get maybe some extra amenities. In the older model, the last couple of years, it was maybe the size of your infotainment screen, and maybe some black accents. So you could buy that and get the special, the Road Glide or Street Glide special. And then if you wanted a more touring focused motorcycle, you could go up to the next level and get the Limited, which had the Tour Pack and maybe extra lighting with like an electric glider, the Ultra Limited. And so they've simplified their line and have upgraded the aesthetics of those motorcycles. And we were talking about that Road King special that this year and last year, after they announced those, the Road King special didn't change it much. It didn't get a larger displacement engine. It didn't get the liquid cooled. It didn't get the bags. It didn't get the tank. It's still the same motorcycle that they've been running for the Road King special line for the last, 2016, 17? 17, I think, is when 16. Either way, 16 on has practically been the same motorcycle. Maybe they used to have the Road King standard, which was a 107 cubic inch engine, and then the special had the 114. Now they don't offer the standard, and they just had the 114, but you don't have the 117 that the Road Glide and Street Glide are offering, and you don't have the, like I said, liquid cooled and the aesthetics. So he's saying he believes that will be something that they will change. Maybe that is a hot take because it almost holds a special place in the lineup that allows you, if you're like, I don't really like the new look of the new bikes, I'm not a fan of the tank, I'm not a fan of the bags, I don't like that it's liquid cooled. Some people are like that. So if that is you, that Road Glide might be the right option for you. So there you have it. Good one here. So Randy Moto that we had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Oh man, I can't even say a couple of weeks ago anymore. A couple of months ago, we were talking to him about motorcycle safety. This one continues on with that topic. He said, when I asked him about it, he said it goes along with the shirt I was wearing the other day. If loud pipes save lives, imagine what actually knowing how to ride your motorcycle could do for you. I mean, you couldn't put it more simpler. I don't know. I like having louder pipes, not the loudest, like obnoxious. I like having loud pipes. I like feeling the feeling of riding a motorcycle. I like feeling connected to my motorcycle, and loud pipes is something that helps that for me. I feel like whether you're riding a cruiser, a tour bike, or a sport bike, maybe not, I don't know. I feel like if you're off-roading, you want to hear your bike. It's just part of riding a motorcycle, I feel like. But it should not subsidize your ability to ride. I love what he says here. In other words, never stop learning to ride your motorcycle. You shouldn't subsidize your ability with lights to make you more visible, with flashy clothes or loud pipes, because they're never going to overcome your inability to ride. So thank you, Randy, for your words of wisdom, and keep that in mind when you're riding, guys. I think that's it for our Instagram followers. Let's check on Facebook real quick to see. I think we had one or two there. Let's see. Grady Lundeen. He said, "You're too old to ride a sport bike." That's his hot take. Or in reverse, I guess. Let me explain. He says, "I'm almost 50 and prefer a MT-07 naked over a Harley." I don't know. I don't think that age is just a number. I know people that are in their 80s and 90s that are sharper than people in their 60s. That's just how it is. One of our friends that we've mentioned on the podcast before, Dennis, 70 years old, running marathons. I'm 27, and I would probably die trying to run a marathon. That's just how it is. Now, if you're riding a motorcycle and it's got a lot of power to it, and you're not super comfortable with that, probably not the bike for you. That's just how it is. And maybe as you get older, that's something you have to come to grips with and change what motorcycle you're riding. Or maybe you're like Grady here and you know what you're capable of and you enjoy a sport bike. I'm sure that you can ride not sure. I know that you can ride a sport bike safely. You might like the aesthetics of a sport bike more than you like the aesthetics of a Harley Davidson cruiser, adventure bike, anything. So don't let anyone tell you what kind of bike you want to ride just because they think you're old. I mean, and on the flip side of that, don't let anyone tell you you're too young to ride a certain bike. I know that Harley Davidson tour bikes have a old man stigma attached to them. 27, I'm not super old, but I love my tour bike. That's just how it is. It's comfortable. It works great for long distance riding. It's got the tank to handle going long without having to stop, and the comfortability to have my wife on the back and have her enjoy the ride. So that I would never have the same experiences I have had on my bike if I was still on my sport bike, that FZ09. My wife would never go on rides with me if that was the case. So don't let anyone tell you what you're supposed to ride. Let's see. All right. We'll move over to Reddit because I think that's it for stuff over there. All right. I got my bad eye, so I'm going to scoot in and take a look. All right. We've got, like I said, if I mispronounce your name or your handle, don't shoot me. I mean, we've got 5 IT Ronin, 5 it Ronin, maybe. Under his name, it says BMW F650 GS 2001 ABS. I'm going to guess that's what he's riding. So, he says a lot of riders would have more fun and ride more often if owning a smaller, lighter, less powerful, more nimble, and more accessible bike. Interesting. SD Fiddler 1984 says, I agree with the sentiment. I went from 929 RRS and ZX10 RS to 40 to 80 horsepower cafe and adventure bikes and have way more fun. It's made me a much more capable rider too. It's fun being able to use all the bikes and all the gears. Okay, so that kind of highlights that a little more. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're riding long distance and you're trying to go on highways, if you have a small displacement engine, you just might not be able to do it as well. I mean, the weight and the power help with wind and just fatigue in general. So what are you looking to do? Because there's people that go on long distance rides every other weekend, and some people that just go out for quick bar hopping rides and whatnot. So yeah, hot take. I like my big bike. I don't feel like I ride it less because it's big. I'm not afraid to ride it or anything like that. And I know I've met people that have said, I don't like riding in the city with my tour bike because it's not as nimble. I mean, I could refer back to Randy, and if you just don't feel comfortable riding your bike, you should either practice or go down a size. Just, you need to be safe on what you're riding. So we'll call that. Adjacent to that, we got Lex D. Fox. Adjacent to that, my hot take is that leader bikes are unnecessary. I asked him if he could elaborate. He said, better to ride a small bike fast than a fast bike slow. Also, the only place you would utilize that kind of power is on a track or open highway. And even then, I argue that you'd have the same kind of fun and thrill on a 600 or even a 300. I mean, he has a point. At what point do you have enough power? Obviously, it's a big old measuring contest of, hey, my bike has a bigger displacement engine than yours, and it's faster, and it's got more torque, and all these, different metrics that you could measure better or worse motorcycles. But he makes a good point that at a certain point, what are you going to do with that extra power? If you're not taking your sport bike or even these newer Harley Davidsons where they're for you sport bike lovers, you're probably just going to laugh and be like, okay, whatever. But these newer Harley Davidson tour bikes that they're trying to build them out to be more racing bikes like they do in, King of the Baggers. You have that 121, you have that, you can get the 134 cubic inch crate engine. What are you going to do with that? If you're putting that in your bike just to be cool, I mean, one, that's on you. That's your money. I'm not going to go and spend, $10,000, $15,000 just for a new engine on top of the engine that works just fine. If you blew up your engine and then needed a new engine, that's another story. I mean, you need a new engine anyway, so why not go big? But the point is, what are you going to do with all that power? If you don't have a plan for it, I mean, that could be the hot take is why do you need that big of an engine if you're not going to use it properly or use it for what it's meant for, racing, essentially. But the last line he says, displacement is overrated. Using it as a metric of why your bike is better is overrated, but depending on what you're trying to do, it's not, I guess. If you're trying to race and you want your leader bike and you want all the performance parts on it, it's not overrated because that's what you want. You want to race. You want to do that. Now, there's a lot of things that people are going to call overrated on motorcycles, but it's all preference at that point. Let's see here. Another person, Know It Mall, he agreed with that previous one. As an additional point of discussion about what is enough power for the highway and why it's far less than most American riders think. Interesting. For those of you who are not from America, tell me, is that something that you guys often think of American riders? That's probably a good thing that or something that would be fun to talk about one day is how different motorcycle communities see each other, even across national lines. Are we Americans just the community of giant engines? I mean, it seems like when I was perusing these earlier, someone commented back at that. Let me see. Because they were talking about how that a lot of these bigger bikes are coming from Europe and coming from Japan. So it was kind of a moot point that they were making fun of Americans. So only worry about displacement where these larger displacement engines are coming from their side of the pond anyways. I cannot seem to find it. Got another, let's see, maybe a point back to that. This one must have been a really popular one. And also, I'm still figuring out Reddit. Accessibility and being nimble equals stress while, accessible and being nimble, stress while riding, more rides, especially short rides, equals more fun in the long run. A lot of bikes are way too powerful for legal purposes. Oof, I don't know. I wouldn't want to put legal restraints on motorcycles because I feel like that's how you kind of stifle creation. Too powerful for legal purposes and heavy for city, small roads with a lot of curves, and in case of ADVs on unpaved roads and tracks. If not too powerful, they are often too heavy for such circumstances. Also, riding smaller bikes fast is more fun than riding a fast bike slow enough legally. Okay, couple points there. I know for a fact that, yes, it is easier to ride a smaller bike maneuverably. It's easier to learn how to do that. I know for a fact if you do want to learn those things on a big bike, it's 100% possible. I know for a fact that there are guys that can ride Harley Davidson electric glides tighter and all the different maneuverability things. You can look it up right now and just look up Harley Davidson tour bike maneuverability classes, and they're doing hairpin turns and ins and outs like these police motorcyclists. They go through grueling training to be experts in their field. So I feel like it's a moot point to say, hey, you really ought to ride a smaller bike because you can maneuver it better anyways. If you want the bigger bike, learn how to ride it that way. It is possible. It is a thing. It's not going to be easy. You're probably going to drop your bike, but that's why you go to classes like Randy teaches. You're going to be a better biker. You're going to be a better rider. You're going to be safer, and you're going to have more fun with it. So if you want that bigger bike, make sure you train equal enough to what you're riding. Then we have some bull crap where people are yelling at each other, totally losing the whole point of this, making it fun. But some other comments comparing 1000s to 700s and whatnot. There's not much difference. I mean, maybe after tuning and such compared to a stock, but I mean, there's no way that 1000s are slower than R7s, like an R1 versus an R7. Let's see. Next one, we got Fubby Loofer 69. When are two strokes going to make a triumphant return? We had Ranger 8224. They have in dirt bikes for years. Where have you been under a rock? Fubby Loofer expounded, saying that he was meaning more modern street bikes, RG 500, RZ 500, even dual sports. I know the government cracked down on them. I just missed the scream of my RD 350. Now all I need is if you have the, I don't know. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. But I mean, I don't know a whole lot about two strokes. I have not ridden a dirt bike. Have I been dirt biking? Oof. I worked on one a couple of years ago of my great uncle's just to try and get it, get my hands dirty and practice working on bikes. But I haven't been like out on the dirt since I was like 16, 17, 18. That's pushing it. Maybe 18. Been on some dirt paths with a dual sport. So are they going to come back? Well, I mean, sounds like they're still prevalent enough in dirt bikes, and I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just not the best bike type of engine for road riding. I don't know. For those of you who are gearheads, maybe you can expound on that. Man, a lot of people, maybe it's not so hot of a take. All I keep seeing are more comments about how, like this rider on the Storm 1. Most riders have too powerful bikes. They have no idea what it's capable of in terms of braking and cornering. Also, a 600 sport bike is for advanced riders. I don't know. I would say intermediate, maybe. Advanced, because I feel like, I don't know, we keep coming back to this point of, do you need to be capable for what you're riding. You need to be honest with yourself, with your riding ability. So we won't spend too much time on that. Let's see. Raykuma X. I don't know if it's a hot take because it's been discussed in length before, but Harley riders and their mindset needs to change. I ride a ZX6R and have always had sport bikes. I will be the first to admit that myself and others ride more aggressively than we need, and that's something we can work on as well. But I have had guns pulled on me and threats made to my family and self simply for passing Harley riders. I see them block traffic and freak out if anyone says anything about it. It makes all bikers look terrible and creates a poor environment. If you're running into people like that, that does make the community of riders as a whole look bad. It makes us look like intolerant pieces of crap that are willing to end somebody's life over nothing. Like he said, and I give him credit for being able to self-reflect and be like, there's stuff that we need to work on too as sport bike riders. I've never had an issue with a sport bike rider, and I've never had an issue with cruisers. Granted, when I'm riding in my truck and I don't know what it is, it seems like I always see bad motorcyclists when I'm driving a car or a truck. And when I'm on my motorcycle, I don't see, like when I see motorcyclists, they're doing everything right. They're not doing anything really outrageous. But, you know, if you're cutting people off and you're popping wheelies right in front of people, like I went on a group ride, and I think I mentioned before, but had somebody pop a wheelie right next to me and about ran right into me. You got to be conscious of everyone else and what they're doing. Yeah. If you're a Harley rider and you think that you own the road because you're on a Harley, you're wrong. I mean, that goes for anybody. Share the road. It's just how it is. If you don't share the road, you're going to get yourself killed. If you think that you're going to beat that truck that's trying to cut you off, and you're going to go show him what for by knocking his window in or his rearview mirror, you're just going to get yourself killed. So please be careful out there, and work on your attitude. Just, we're all out here to have fun. I mean, I haven't met a motorcyclist that isn't out there to have fun. You're out there to enjoy your ride. So, be considerate. Next one, Plastic Fan 88.7. My hot take is that anybody who doesn't enjoy large displacement bikes are just scared of them and can't/won't admit it. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to say. Anyone who doesn't enjoy, I mean, just because you don't enjoy a giant bike doesn't mean that you're afraid. I could imagine a scenario where you've had larger bikes and you're one of those people that was just like, you know what, I had more fun with my smaller bike. Doesn't mean you're scared of it. You just have a different opinion at that point. So yeah, it's interesting enough. Oh, this one was funny. I saw it. Let's see. No Country for Old Zen is his tag. He said, ape hangers make you look like you're 10 years old riding a big boy bike for the first time. And I laughed pretty hard at that one when I read it earlier. I commented back and I said, at what height are bars considered ape hangers to you? And it doesn't look like he responded, but someone else said anything above the triple tree. So I'm going to guess that that's anything but sport bike, anything that's not a sport bike or an adventure bike. So if you're riding a cruiser, because I would say most cruisers come with stock bars that come a little above the triple tree, you look like a 10-year-old. I don't know. I feel I would say that you look like a 10-year-old when you're trying too hard. You know, this might be my hot take. When you're riding not on a track and you're in I don't know, maybe this is stupid, the full body suit, and you're probably just drowning in your own sweat in the 80-degree weather in the summer, or even higher depending on where you're at, but you're not on a track. Maybe that, I don't know, it's not that much gear if you get in a wreck, because you want as much gear as you possibly can if you're in a wreck. But I think it looks a little goofy when you're trying too hard. I mean, and same goes for Harley Davidson or cruiser riders, whatever you want to call us, just leathered to the T, and or I mean, it's your life. You do whatever you want, ride without a helmet, but, you know, with the bandana, just mean mugging it. Like, I'm out to have fun. So if you could see me with my helmet off, I've probably got a big grin on my face, but I don't know. Trying too hard is silly to me. Just be out there to enjoy the ride. Let's see here. This one is, this is a paragraph. Holy crap. User FHARALEYG. You guys can guess how that one said. And this one almost seems like it was something that plugged into ChatGPT before I even read it, because it's just so long and like structured. It says the Suzuki Bergman 650 is the best scooter to ever exist in the at minimum 50% of America. Wait, what? is the best scooter to exist for at minimum 50% of America. That the Honda Trail 125 is more practical than the Super Cub. Don't know much about those. I see what it is. Each of these seems like are separate opinions. That motorcycles are superior vehicles to cars. Less space they take up, brake similar times, if not occasionally faster. Supercar speed without supercar money. Turns easier, smaller diameter. If you compare it to a smart car, you best be counter leaning to get a nice tight circle. Less blind spots, more fuel efficient than most cars. On the road today, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's cover some of those points. The whole concept of better than cars is kind of silly because at least in America and maybe other parts of the world, we don't live in a society, unless you have perfect weather, that riding a motorcycle 100% year-round, no matter what is going on, is completely feasible. I mean, here in Utah, we've got snow and ice, and I would hate to see, even if you did ride during the winter, what the chemicals and salt and everything they put on the roads to keep them from freezing over do to your bike. I mean, they eat up cars bad enough. Imagine what they're doing to a motorcycle that's not really built for that. If your paint job starts rusting off just because you've been out in the salt and the snow and rain and all that, I'm not riding my bike in the winter if it's icy or snowy. It's just not the kind of bike I have. I mean, I do know some people that do ride in the winters when it is nasty weather, and they come prepared. They're putting chains on their tires and they're gearing up. And the person I'm thinking of mentally right now, I'm trying to get him on to kind of talk about that and see what his thoughts are on that, if he still does it, if that's something he suggests to other people, and some things to consider. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to comment and say, Jeremy, hurry up and get that person on. Next comment was about turning. I mean, yeah, of course it can turn tighter. It's got two wheels. But I'm sure somebody who's a big car person, anti-motorcycle person would just be like, yeah, but if I get hit by a semi-truck, I'm probably a lot more likely to survive. There's many things to the same coin. It's two sides of the same coin. His next one, that motorcycles are more practical for food delivery and small parcel delivery than what we use today, cars and post vans. I mean, maybe small stuff, like you said, anything more than a single package, you might be really struggling, or a couple packages. I feel like, yeah, it used to be more prevalent that we had pizza delivery drivers that had kind of a moped or a motorcycle. I mean, even if you think about it on Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, I'm pretty sure he gets ran over or someone hits him, rear ends him while he's riding a moped delivering pizzas. And, if I was a businessman, I'd have to obviously outweigh the dangers of it. I mean, you're probably going to have to pay out a lot of money if you have one of your employees killed while delivering on a motorcycle. So that is probably why they're in these big delivery trucks that people don't want to screw with. That motorcycles are safer than cars. No false pretense on safety. If in a crash you slide away rather than trapped inside. That's a hot take, because what if you get pinned underneath their vehicle and then you're dead? So I would say when it comes to that kind of stuff, you would have to be in one lucky situation in order to survive a head-on wreck. People that get ejected from their vehicles are way more likely to die than people that have their seatbelt on are fine, and I'm sure there's statistics to show that, but obviously the people that are getting thrown out of their car aren't wearing a helmet, whereas if you're smart, you're wearing a helmet on your bike. And this is his final hot take, that all motorcyclists should have to wear helmets, would help us pass lane splitting bills a whole lot easier. I don't know. For those of you who keep up to date on law practices of motorcycle riding, is that a hot topic? Is that something that everyone's really pushing for? If the interstate lanes were built for splitting, maybe I'd be more interested. It'd be really nice than having to feather my clutch for 16 miles waiting in traffic. From what I've heard, I've never ridden over in California, but I've heard that their interstate lanes are built for that. They've got wider regular lanes, and then maybe I can't remember, somebody might have described it that they have miniature lanes in between the lanes for riding motorcycles. So I would say, one, wear your helmet. That at the end of the day, you're going to save your life more likely than if you don't. That's just how it is. And when it comes to the splitting lanes bill, boy, I'll see it when it happens. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough traffic for that to happen here in Utah, at least. Did I say who that was? Yeah. It was that one that we could not read to save our lives. We'll go over a couple more here. IR Bike Works. No. Sorry. Before we get to IR Bike Works, we'll go back to Mac Daresh said the Harley Davidson Road King is the superior Harley touring bike. Street glides and road glides have so many toys, they're basically cars at this point. I mean, we kind of mentioned this earlier, that the Road King might continue to stay how it is just for the fact that there is people in the market that don't want all the gizmos. They don't want a stereo. They don't want all these extra gauges. They don't want the fairing. They don't want just all the bells and whistles. It's just they want a simple bike. So, yeah, I mean, if that's what you're looking for, of course the Road King is going to be the superior bike in your eyes because you don't want all the extra crap. I would say if you're riding a Road King, you better have a freaking windshield on that thing, because I will never go back to a motorcycle that doesn't have a windshield and or a fairing, because the wind fatigue, you would not realize how bad it gets over long distance. So there you have it. IR Bike Works, back to IR Bike Works. Licensing in the U.S. for motorcycles should follow the European model, forcing beginner riders to start with low displacement bikes and work their way up. The fact that a 17-year-old with good credit and a learner's permit can buy a bike with 200 raw RWHP, is that raw horsepower, is utterly insane. I'm kind of under the opinion of less is more. I don't know. Less restrictions allow people to have the agency to make the decisions for themselves. I mean, why would you block all these people from riding safely just because one person, I don't know, just because one person is going to buy it, make a stupid decision. They're going to buy something too big for themselves and get themselves killed. Yeah, but there's also a crap ton of people that buy a big bike and do just fine for their entire lives and never have an issue. We've talked about it many times on the podcast. You need to ride your own ride and know your limitations. Putting an age restriction on what you're allowed to ride, not sure how I feel about that. For those of you who are in the European areas with whatever model he's referring to, I'm going to guess it's something along the lines of when you get your license, you got to start something lower than a 400, and then maybe 500 to 600, and then the next level is so on and so forth. I mean, here in Utah, if you take it, I guess with the learner's permit, you can ride whatever. So I think that's the point he's making. But when you take your test here in Utah, if you are riding anything lower than a 650, that's what you're restricted to. I mean, if you take your test on a 400, it's 400 and lower, 500, 500 and lower. If you take a 650 and anything above that, then yeah, you're allowed to ride whatever here in Utah, or that's what gets you your license. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of putting restrictions on riders. For those of you who are in the UK and over there in Europe that have those kinds of laws, what do you think of them? My opinion of it is, if you had that, you should be able to test out. Like, you should be able to, they shouldn't be crazy restrictions on how long it takes to move to the next level. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, you have to have a 400 for 2 years before you can move on to the next size. That just doesn't make sense. You're going to make less people join the hobby, and I'm sure motorcycle companies would hate that because you're going to have less sales. Harley Davidson ain't, well, I say Harley Davidson, but every company has large motorcycles, and those are probably their highest sellers, or most money come into their business through those bikes. So I'm sure that if that became a law, or if it was up for debate, that those companies would lobby against it, because it's just going to affect their, their sales. Let's see. Hipsters came, cafe'd a few CBs, and disappeared. I don't know anything about cafe racers when it comes to their community. Don't forget the BMWs, said the real McCoy. I'm not privy to that knowledge when it comes to what they're referring to exactly. Sure. Is the cafe racer scene kind of dead? I don't know. Maybe if you do know, let me know. Okay, Leadership 1593 says, add a GAT. So all the gear all the time is dumb. I don't need full gear to ride around my neighborhood any more than I would on a pedal bike. I mean, if you're referring to going the speed of a pedal bike, maybe. I mean, if you're just kind of taking a smaller motorcycle around the neighborhood and you just need a helmet, and you don't need to put on your gloves and your leather jacket and your riding pants and your riding boots, and, you accept the level of responsibility that you're willing to accept every time you get on the motorcycle. If you choose not to wear a helmet, you're accepting the responsibility that comes along with it. If you get hit by a car at 25 miles an hour and you whack your head on the ground, well, shucks, you could have permanent brain damage. Yeah, you'd think that a neighborhood is safer, but I've heard that most accidents happen within a mile of home. So what does that say to you? So, yeah, you take responsibility for what you put on every time you get on the motorcycle. Hot XEP. Sure. Maybe you understanding Adagat not the right way. You just need to have responsible gear, but it must be every ride. Yeah. So same thing. I think this is the same one from earlier that I couldn't read his name. RHFNOSHR. Additionally, parking lot practice is not nearly as effective as people here say. I think when I did start riding, I did a lot of parking lot practice, and I don't as much, but maybe when I take one of these courses, either here soon or the beginning of next season, I maybe I'll have some drills that I can take to parking lots and practice. Let's see. I'm going to end on a good one. Why can't I stop Reddit? Why can't I stop motorcycling or stop Reddit from sending me messages? Oh shoot, what did I do to it? Did Oh, okay. Ooh. People keep talking about bikes in terms of CC, which is obviously stupid. We should refer to bikes by horsepower instead of CC. So many people think that Ninja 650 is comparable to a ZX6R, or a CBR 650 is comparable to a SV 650. It's all dumb. Are you saying that when it comes to advertising, we should say what horsepower it is, or we're like referring to the power of your bike in general? I don't know. I don't even know what horsepower my bike runs at right now. Maybe I'll look up the stock. I'm sure it's just stock. Stock horsepower 2012 Harley Electra Glide Ultra Limited. Bear with me. 89 horsepower at 5450 RPM. Yeah, I ride a 2012 Harley Davidson 89 horsepower. That's what I ride. and it upgrades every time I take it to the shop to work on it. I don't know. This one ought to be good. Papa Bobcat. Sidecars are awesome and people need to get over themselves and get one. It would help the price come down too. Funny that this one comes up. We have a guest coming up next week or the week after. I think it's the week after that. He has a sidecar on his motorcycle and goes on tons of adventures with his dog in his sidecar. So I'm interested to see what he has to say about this. I do know they're expensive. My wife's always joked about having one. So I've looked at them and I'm like, holy cow, the price of a sidecar that doesn't even match the paint of your motorcycle is insane. So if you're looking to get one, get ready to open up your pocketbook. Now, when it comes to how cool they are, I think his looks cool, but he's also got a dog in the side of it, and you can't think that's not cool. On my bike, if it was easy to remove, I'll put it that way. If it was easy to remove, it would be fun to have. If it was bolted on and it took hours to take off, I would not be interested. Even my tour pack, I like to take it on and off because I have the quick release, and I think it looks way cleaner without it. But I like having it because then my wife will ride with me. So, you know what? I think we'll call that quits. We'll call that good. And we'll save some of these other ones and maybe we'll put out another notice in the future to kind of have those more on hand and have a group of people to comment on it. But yeah. What did you guys think? Did you enjoy this episode? If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on any platform that you see fit. And why not do it on them all? I mean, we've got YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora Radio. There's a couple other little ones that I'd never even heard of, but people wanted them, so I threw them on. If you have a place that you're listening to, want to listen to this podcast, and can't, let us know, and we will try our very darndest to get it on there. If you like what we're doing here, please, comments and reaching out to us, DMing us is the best thing you can do to know that we're doing what you guys want to see and make this more fun. The more that you guys participate, the more that this podcast will grow. And that's all we want to do is make it fun for the most amount of people. We want to promote a community of chill motorcycle riders. We, like it was discussed earlier, having riders that make more people want to ride and less people want to hate us. It's just something that we want to do here at the Beehive Biker Podcast. So thanks again for those who helped today and put these comments on. Just keep it up, keep riding, keep it safe. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. Two more quick things. First off, I am an idiot and completely did not get this episode recorded by video right. I started the recording and apparently did not delete enough space off my phone in order to get the video to record without crashing the phone app or the camera app. So sorry that you did not get the opportunity to see this beautiful face of mine. Or not so beautiful face. Second off, I did miss one that I had, hot take that I had texted to me, and I thought it was worth recording real quick. This one's from Weston Priestley that we had on the podcast from Saddleback Harley Davidson. He said, Softails are one of the best rides you can have on a bike. Everyone loves Dynas, but that is why they got rid of them and made them all Softails. I've never ridden a Dyna. I've ridden a couple Softails, and I mean, he's not wrong. Those things ride like a dream. So yeah, I mean, if you've ridden a Softail and you think they're amazing, and if you ride Dynas and you think they're amazing, it could just be preference, but, yeah, there you have it. I don't have much of an opinion of it because I am still trying to get to know as many bikes as I can. So put it in the comments what you think is better, whether you think the Dyna is better or the Softail is better. And thank you again for listening. Bye.